You don't need a sledgehammer or a $100,000 budget to remodel your kitchen. Now I get it. Kitchen remodels is something everybody always wants, and it's always out of budget. Honestly, we can't be replacing our kitchens every 10 years because honestly, that's not sustainable in any scenario. A dream? Yes. Is it gonna happen? Probably not. So I'm gonna give you, from a designer's perspective, my quick little cosmetic changes that can make your kitchen look remodeled without really breaking the bank. First is gonna be the most obvious one, and it's going to be repainting. And when I say repainting, you better not be repainting it yourself. If you have any type of melamine or veneer or MDF cabinets, if you do a roll on, you're going to see every streak, every line, every curve, every angle that you've done on it. Pay the extra money and get it sprayed professionally because it's going to be worth it in every scenario if you want your kitchen to look brand new. The psychology of color is really important in your space, and I've done a video on that in the past, so make sure you watch that if you're not sure on what color works with your space and how it's going to feel cohesive. Color drenching as well is going to be another really great way to change up those cosmetic ways where it feels different. You don't have to do the cabinets, but if you're doing the crown molding, the baseboard, and the walls, do it all the same to create that visual stunt of making your space look larger and feel more expansive because you don't have those visual breaks of colored molding. The one thing that I will make you do before you commit to any color is make sure that you get a sample. Put it on the cabinets on every single angle of the room, even the walls if you're planning on painting it. Look at that color and take pictures of it in the morning and in the evening and look at those pictures side by side on your camera roll. This is going to give you the most insight to how that color temperature changes throughout the day depending on your geographical location to understand if that color is going to work in your space or if it's either too warm or too cool. Quick tip, if you have an east facing room, you're going to be very hot in the morning and cool light during the day. You always want to balance out that with a nice neutral, and same thing for the west. You're going to have cool light all day and really warm light in the evening. This is where you also need a very simple neutral. If you have north or south, you kind of have a little bit of mixture of everything. So if you go with a warmer or a cooler, this is going to work great in every scenario. For repainting your kitchen cabinets, a company will come in, basically they will take all the front shutters and the door fronts off. They will take them to their shop, they will spray them down. Once those are done, it usually takes honestly a week to 2 weeks to do that depending on their timeline. When they come back, they will then tarp your entire cabinet and kitchen off to spray the rest of the gables and the internal components of your kitchen, and then they just install them and boom, look at that. You have a newly renovated kitchen in no time. Some sprayers are really good, and I always specify make sure that they're spraying, they have great reviews, and they're using a higher quality shellac based paint. Don't go to a hardware store and just pick out like a Behr or a Benjamin Moore. Make sure it is an actual shellac based with a primer so it's not going to chip, scratch, and come off for your kitchen. This is probably going to set you back anywhere between, obviously depending on the size of your kitchen, $1,000 up to $8,000 depending. Obviously there's a lot of variables there, but I would say that's the safe price point to work with. Lighting is going to make the difference between a kitchen that is atmospheric and a kitchen that is staged. Always consider the color temperature. I know you are sick and tired of every single designer telling you what to look for, but the Kelvin ratings matter. A 2700 to a 3000 is going to be that great middle ground. If you like it brighter in a kitchen, do not go higher than 3500 because once you go past 3500, the color changes to blue, and that blue then changes the perspective of all the colors in your space. If you have a nice beautiful white oak flooring, it's no longer going to look warm and yellow anymore. It's going to look pale and discolored, and that will change with any finish in your kitchen. Cheap bulbs are honestly going to downgrade any space, especially in your kitchen. There is a lot of retrofitted systems out there that if you have a lot of pot lights, because once again, we're not using the big light in 2026, you can retrofit pot lights to have a junction box for a pendant or a cylindrical downlight that you know that I love. This is a really great way to swap out the lights to change the versatility and the direction of how the light is perceived in your space, especially in a kitchen, on highlighting certain areas. Do you want to highlight an open shelf? Do you want to highlight the countertop? Do you want to highlight the island? All of these are something to take into consideration when you're looking to swap those lights out. Another really great way to give you that upgrade to reduce the amount of shadows you have on counters are adding in an integrated LED underneath your upper cabinets. Now, this doesn't have to be a full surgical precision added in. You can either route them in underneath or get those plug and play ones that still give you that same effect as long as you have the right color temperature. And once again, it comes down to the layers of light that you put in a space. 3. I always say 3 is your bare minimum that you need. Whether it's the countertop light that's highlighting the island, a pendant that comes down, an accent wall sconce, or even the under cabinet lighting, all of those added together are going to make your space feel brand new because it gives you a different perspective of how you're perceiving it in the evening. I'm gonna give you bonus points if you put things on dimmers too, because once again, if you're in a kitchen and you have the lights on and you have an open concept with your dining room, the last thing you want is to ruin the vibe by having bright lights on the kitchen and dim lights in the living room or the dining room. Keep everything so it's customizable. And show of hands, how many people have dimmers in their space? And are you lying to me? Do you need to go replace them? Because this is something that can be easily be done by yourself as long as you have a dimmable light bulb and the right transformer in the switch plate. This is a super easy fix. So please let me know in the comments if I need to do a video on how to switch out a switch to a dimmer, because honestly, it's super easy. Smart bulbs are another really great option as well if you don't want to replace those dimmers. If you have everything operating on a smart system, you can customize everything from your phone, and once again, even easier. This is a very similar price point because you can start anywhere from like $500 for like quick little replacements or under cabinet lights, or going up to 10, 15,000, depending on what light fixtures and the actual junction boxes that you're going to be adding in. Keep in mind that an electrician is going to charge you anywhere between $350 and $500 per visit, as well as additional junction boxes throughout. So if you're budgeting for something like that, that's a good price point to stand off of. I know a lot of people don't think about this one, but the plumbing fixtures, your kitchen faucet, as well as your sink. The last video that went viral on TikTok was me talking about my galley sink and having it customized to be a prep sink. And every single person was fighting me. They were like, ugh, undermounted sinks are the worst. You need to have a top mount. And I was like, are you on drugs? Like, are you on drugs? Come on, people. An undermount sink is the easiest thing to clean. You wipe everything into the sink. If you have an overmount, everything gets caught around that edge point. And the argument of people were saying is that, oh, it gets stuck in the undermount. Do you not clean your sink, people? It's not that hard. It's super easy to be done with. And the likelihood of you having like food and grime underneath the undermounted is less likely than having you on an overmount. Gooseneck faucets, in my opinion, are always going to have that timeless appeal that work with every design style, and always make sure that gooseneck is pointing down. If you have one that angles out, depending on your water pressure, you're gonna have a splash zone that you're not ready for. If you're not sure which faucet finish to pick, I always like to match mine with the cabinetry hardware. This is a great visual connection between low and high that creates that sense of repetition that makes your space feel well designed and cohesive. This is a more costly upgrade. I would say this is going to be ranging between, $1,000 up to maybe $8,000 or $10,000, depending on the quality of your plumbing fixture and the sink you want installed, as well as the plumber coming in to do this. It is much easier to replace an undermounted sink than it is a top-mounted sink, because all you have to do is just remove that silicone and then undermount it and then tie it together. They usually put like a structural base under to keep it in place, leave it for 48 hours, and you're good to go. If you have a higher budget, and when I say higher budget, I mean the appliances. Appliances are very short-lived these days, especially if you're using them every single day. Most of them have a lifespan of, I would say, up to 10 years. That's if you take care of them, maintain them, clean them, especially your fridge, people. If you are not cleaning out that heating coil at least once a year, I hate to say it, your fridge is probably not going to last you 10 years like they say it will. I would also say focus on your hero appliances for ones that you're using that are going to make your biggest impact. This is going to be your stove. This is also going to be your microwave, or even your coffee station or your sparkling water maker. These things make a huge impact because you're interacting with them so often, and it gives you that elevated sense of luxury, even when the rest of the kitchen isn't up to date. I personally like the integrated and the panel ready appliances. Once again, these are a much higher upgrade, and depending on the age of your kitchen, you can also have those same panels made out if you know where your kitchen came from. If it's a builder grade one, trust me, you can get them made in the exact same color, whether it's a wood stain or a paint, without it mismatching. I know this is going to be a controversial take, but I like to have my appliances around the same brand, within the same family at least. And there's a few reasons for that. One, a lot of new appliances are all on smart systems, and if you have them all the same brand, they all seamlessly speak to each other if you're on your Wi-Fi system. So if you're turning on your stove, the hood fan automatically turns on. You don't have to physically turn that on for it to be operational, and it's those little conveniences that really add up to make it feel luxurious. I also like to have all of my appliances in the same finish, whether you're going with a blackened stainless steel, a regular stainless steel, or even panel ready, all of these should feel cohesive, because as soon as you start mismatching, that's when it starts to take away from that cohesive design language that feels functional in your space. People, I don't know why, they're obsessed with the smeg appliances that are super bright and colorful. Yes, they're cute. You can have the little toaster, and I think that's fun. But if you're committing all of your appliances to a very specific color palette, by the time you need to replace them, because you're not going to be replacing them all at once because they're expensive, the same dye lot is not going to be the same, and it's going to look discolored, and you're going to notice. I mean, I will notice. The cost for a new appliance package, once again, if you're doing a full appliance package, it's probably going to cost you around $20,000 for a good standard mid-grade set. But then again, those smaller luxuries like a nice toaster, a nice sparkling water maker, this is going to cost you anywhere between a few hundred up to maybe 500 depending on how many you're putting in. And this is where you can start with those little luxuries. I probably said this one before, but even swapping out your hardware is another really great and affordable way to make your space feel brand new, because this is a tactile experience. These handles, whether it be an edge pull, a knob, or a lever, are something that you're interacting with every single day. And it's that touch value that really changes how you experience a space. If you're a tactile person like myself and you want something that's less neurodivergent, a knurling finish has that really textural grip to it versus a nice slim coated matte finish that's going to be much nicer. Another great way to kind of elevate these hardware pieces is going with a solid fixture. If you have a builder grade finish, I bet you they're hollow and they feel light and cheap. Having something with that substantial weight on it is going to make a huge difference, trust me. I would avoid mixing too many metals though. As soon as you start mixing metals, this can look really busy. But what I do like to do with different values of the actual finish and the shape within your kitchen is look at levers, knobs, and pulls of different sizes that are along the same color palette. It gives you that little sense of like curiosity in a space that allows you to interact with each one differently and give you a different experience. This is also super DIY friendly. You don't need to hire anyone for this, and the cost for these, depending on the size of your kitchen, can be anywhere from $200 up to $1,000. I will give you one hot tip though. If you are going to be replacing all of them and you need the same size for your levers specifically, measure the screw from screw to the back, because sometimes the levers are longer, and don't measure that because you want to know that exact dimension between screw to screw, because when you're looking for it, you're going to look for a 4-inch, 5-inch, even up to an 8-inch depending on your lever size. This is going to be an incoming hot take, but one of those little luxuries to elevate your space is with natural stone. And I know not everyone has the budget to put natural stone everywhere for their countertops. It's also not as practical for some people depending on how they live and operate in their space. But there is something about the luxury and the depth and the vibrancy of natural stone that can elevate any room. That being said, you can bring them in small details, whether it's a cutting board, a nice sculptural bowl, or a vase. These elements in a kitchen can really elevate your space to draw your attention to those items of appreciation instead of your quartz countertops that probably aren't doing anything for you. And to make it even more budget friendly, you don't have to buy a full slab, people. You could literally go to a fabricator that has off-cut pieces and have pieces cut down. If you have a side table, a dining table, something in your room that you want to elevate, getting that cut down is a really great way of introducing a new finish that feels layered in with the rest of your existing ones. Be wary of overstoning in your space though, because it can come off very pretentious if you're having multiple cutting boards stacked of different colors, different textures, different finishes, and different veining. Find a color palette that works, that feels cohesive with your existing palette, and even if you layer a few slab pieces on your backsplash, that already increases the value of how you're perceiving your space. Another hot tip from my perspective is go with a honed versus a polished finish with any piece that you're adding in. It gives that more elevated, luxurious look. A polished one sometimes comes off cheap. The price for these will probably cost you anywhere between $100, maybe up to $700, depending on the size of the stone and what you're using it for. Another great way to really highlight a specific detail or a zone in your kitchen is doing just that. Highlight the hero space, whether it's an appliance, your appliance garage, maybe it's your coffee station. You have a really cool, that DeLong one that looks really cool, like it's a cafe style. If you have something like that that you want to highlight, do so. Make sure that this is a hero in your kitchen. This is where you have those rituals every single morning and throughout the day to make that coffee statement. Enjoy it. Make sure that this is the highlight, but also make sure it doesn't contrast with the rest of the finishes and the details details in your kitchen. A clean kitchen is always going to give you that perspective of a luxury high-end look. And yes, when I say clean kitchen, get rid of the clutter. You don't need to have every single appliance on the countertop because if I'm being honest, how often are you using that toaster? How often are you using that kettle? Think about that. If you're not using it every single day, it doesn't need to be out and visible. I know this is not everybody's tea, but decanting is another really great way to add that extra like luxury feel in a space. And when I'm talking about decanting, you don't need everything in the craft dinner boxes. All that different color coordination throws off your cabinets and creates a lot of visual clutter when you open them up. If you're able to have everything in a very cohesive style, whether it's the finishes, the jar that it's in, this really elevates your space. It looks like you're going into a store. I know that's not everybody's tea, it's mine. I love the cohesion. When I talk about decanting, it doesn't have to be for everything that's in your cabinet. It can literally be your soap and your lotion beside. You don't need to have that bright blue Dawn dish soap that looks like it's just jarring because the color is so saturated compared to everything into your kitchen. You can get a nice decanted bottle, whether it's amber glass or something that has smoke to it, where it still serves a function, but allows the other elements in your kitchen to shine. That's the great thing about a well-designed space, is that everything creates an equal amount of value for the perspective and visual weight. Not everything needs to be a moment. Keep control of the amount of things that your eyes are looking at in a room when it comes to how you're achieving and receiving the space. This really creates intention and uniformity across the entire kitchen, even in your drawers and pantry, because it makes it feel custom and more intentional than just random boxes that are all different colors. Now, the biggest pushback I get in kitchens when I talk about all of these valued perspectives of making it feel more luxurious is the amount of space that you have. When it comes to decanting and reorganizing, this is how you create less visual clutter in your cabinet and on your countertops. You do not need to have more space to upgrade your kitchen to feel like it's more luxurious. It's all about space-saving solutions, whether you're stacking items and having items that really feel spatially planned in those drawers, whether they're organizers or stackable units. That's going to be a game changer when it comes to saving space in your kitchen. Now I need you to answer this in the comments. If I were to walk into your kitchen, what's the first thing I would clock and what would I change about it based on what I've just told you? And if you made it this far through the video, I deserve a like. Come on, at least subscribe to my video. And you can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Mr. Phoenix Gray for all my daily tips and tricks. And if you're ever second guessing yourself, just ask, well, what does iDaddy do?